don't know why you should give me a cheer. I'm an Arsenal supporter. Yes.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Well, it's a bit early to tell for me, really.
Were you up last night?
Life before lunch doesn't really exist, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I'll do my best.
And do you know what? If you're lucky, like I say, he might do a few little clips from a few programmes that you may know from the past. But yesterday, we started off the panel. How about we start it off again? Because this is really fun. When you think about these people that you see on TV, you think, oh, what did they do before they were on TV? John was an estate agent. Can you imagine? I'd actually want to be shown a house by you.
I don't think you would. No, I mean, it was... I always wanted to be an actor, but everybody put me off it, you know, quite rightly. Saying, you know, it's a very insecure profession, acting. You know, you never know what's going to happen, and you probably spend half your life out of work. I thought, that sounds great. I mean, I wasn't looking to work too hard if I could help it. But they prevailed upon me, and I got articled to an estate agent's firm in Surrey. But I was hopeless, and you know, after about sort of 3 or 4 months, I just got bored and started impersonating people. You know, inventing spurious deals, property deals with imaginary people, and eventually I got sacked. I don't blame them. I would have sacked me, you know. But it was the best thing that ever happened, really, and I sort of drifted around for a bit, and then I sort of ran away one day and joined the travelling children's theatre that was based in a place called Birkenhead. You might have heard of it, you know, just across the Mersey, yeah. And I'd never been north of Sheffield in my life. You know, my father came from Yorkshire, and so I'd been up to Sheffield to see the grandparents and so on, but no idea where Birkenhead was, but I wrapped all my possessions in a little red handkerchief and tied it on the end of a stick. We got on a train and got off in Birkenhead, and Birkenhead went, hello. And it was basically the old Argyle Theatre. Do you remember the Argyle Theatre? I don't know if it's still there, but it was bombed, I think, during the war. And it was just ruined, most of it, but the offices for this children's theatre were in the bit that was still standing up. I don't know if that's still there. So that was the start of it, and that was back in the 60s, the early 60s, the start of rock and roll. What an exciting place Liverpool was then, you know. I mean, it was all kicking off, all that sort of revolution, musical revolution, really, very exciting times. So Liverpool's always, I've always had a soft spot for Liverpool, really, and always had good times here, so, and this is one of them.
It's hard not to like a Scouser, really, isn't it? I'm from Bootle, you know, I lived here.
Well, it's a sort of a sympathy thing, really, you know what I mean? No, I tell you, some of the first Liverpool people I ever met in a profession were the Beatles. Do you know, they were doing the Magical Mystery Tour, that television show, and there was one part that they couldn't find the right person for, so you can imagine the World and his wife was going up for the part, and my agent sort of sent me up to meet them in London. And this was about, oh God, it must have been about 1965, 66, something like that, and George Harrison wasn't there, so I didn't meet him, but the other three were, and you know, I got talking to John Lennon. I seemed to get on very well with John Lennon, because we both loved the Goon Show, you know. And I said to him, I thought there were 4 of you, you know, and he said, no, he said, George is just a cardboard cutout we sacked him years ago. So I said, oh, he's a real nowhere man then. And that's how that song got into the show. Do you think they believe me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I seem to get on with John Lennon particularly. Paul McCartney wasn't saying very much. He was busy being a businessman, and eventually Lennon said, he said, look, we haven't got a script or anything like that. We don't know what we're doing really, so we're looking for people with ideas, you know. So, John, he said, have you got a favourite Beatles tune at all? Well, I said something then that still haunts me to this day, really. It's one of those moments where something blurts out of your mouth before you fully engage the brain. You know, because I said, actually, I prefer the Rolling Stones.
Oh.
what am I doing? What am I doing? It's all going so well, you know, and I've blown it. So I'm sitting there like this, waiting to be shown the door, and there's a long pause, and eventually Lennon said, "Actually, I think you're right. I prefer them sometimes too." It's a true story. And I got the job. However, I couldn't do it because I was unavailable. I'd already said yes to my very first television show, which is a show called The Newcomers, a long, long time ago, and the dates clashed by 2 days, and the BBC wouldn't release me, so I never got to do it. It's awful. I mean, it's a really, you know, you suffer a lot of disappointments in your life, but that was a really big one, and you know, I'd love to work with those guys, even though I prefer the Rolling Stones. But it would have been a gas. I don't know what would have happened.
But you said this yesterday because John was actually on Broadway and travelling in America, and then, you know, you came back, and we all know you and love you for Boycie, right? From Only Fools and Horses. It's how British comedy should be. It's the best of British. He's a national blooming treasure, right?
Whoa, no.
So if you would have done that show, maybe you wouldn't have got that, and we wouldn't be here with you now, John.
That's right. Yes, it was lucky actually. The Only Fools and Horses connection, because I was in America. You're quite right. I was doing a stage play out there on Broadway, and we did a little tour of America, San Francisco and Boston and all sorts of places, which is a fantastic experience. I'd never been to America before, and I thought that's where the future lay. You know, a lot of people saying nice things, and somebody's agent in LA said, "I'm sure you do very well over here if you come over here, but you have to stick around and go to a lot of interviews, you know." But I sort of run out of money, really, and also I thought, well, I've got to keep my hand in England in case things don't work out in America. And my agent was trying to find me, and eventually he did. He said, "You've been offered a part in a new comedy series back here in England. You're coming to do it. You're going to stay out there. What are you going to do?" And I was at a real crossroads in my life, really. Near as a toucher, I stayed in America, but I thought, as I say, I've got to keep my hand in England, and I'd run out of money. So I came back and I did an episode of a new comedy series called Citizen Smith. Do you remember that? Robert Lindsay. Ran for about 3 series, I think. And it was written by a man called John Sullivan, who I'd never heard of. But I was asked to play a policeman, sort of bent copper, and I played an awful lot of policemen. I thought, what can I do that's a bit different? And I just remembered a character in a pub in southwest London where I used to live, who fascinated me. Do you know, he was a very pompous, sort of superior-looking man, and he had this curious, pedantic way of talking like this. You know, it's like a whiny voice. You know, and he was always on his own, and nobody knew where he'd come from. And one day I said to him, I said, "Gordon, what do you do for a living?" He said, "Well, to be fair with you, I can't really talk about it because most of it is top secret. But safe to say, it is in the electronics trade." I thought, oh, that's it. That's why he's always on his own. Nobody knows who he is, because he's a spy. But, well, he may not be a spy, but he might be connected to that sort of thing, you know, sort of secret messages and all that sort of thing. The man of mystery. It turned out he was a travelling salesman selling tape recorders. And I just remembered this voice, you know, this manner, as if there was something that smelled rather nasty just down there, you know, and he talked like this. So I thought I'll try and play this policeman in Citizen Smith, a bit like him. So I used a bit of that voice, you know, like this. The result was John Sullivan, the writer, said he really liked what I'd done with the policeman. And he said, "I'm going to try and use it again one day, that character," you know. I said, "Wow, thank you very much." Didn't think any more of it. By that time I was at the National Theatre, if you please, trying to become a proper actor. Oh well. Back to the drawing board. But anyway, about a year later, this script, excuse me, came through the door, and it was a little cameo role, and from the same producer, saying, "Would you come and play this second-hand car salesman? It's only 1 day's filming, just a little short scene." So I went, "Oh yeah." I was doing a lot of cameo roles on television those days. This was another one, but the only difference with this one was I knew it was funny. I read read this and it made me laugh a lot. I thought it was quite special, so of course I went off to do it. And that was the first episode of Only Fools and Horses that I did. It's called Go West, Young Man. It was in the very first series in 1981. So it was really lucky that I came back and did Citizen Smith. Otherwise, I don't think I would have got that role. And John Sullivan said my performance in Citizen Smith reminded him of someone he knew in southeast London. And the rest is history. But you know, doing that first episode, although I enjoyed it, great fun. Nobody said anything. Nobody said, "Oh, you'll definitely be back in the next series." And in fact, nobody said there'd be a second series of Only Fools and Horses at all. And it's very lucky that there was, because the first series wasn't that well received, really. Only about 6.9 million, I think, watched it, that first series. And I mean, it sounds a lot. It is a lot these days, to be a big hit these days. But in those days, there were only 3 channels, and you were expected to get about 10 million, really, to be respectable. So it's sort of put to one side. There are no plans for a second series at all. But then there was a strike at the BBC, and they had to start repeating stuff. And luckily somebody put this on to fill a few of the gaps, you know, at a different time, on a different day. And the figures went up by about 2.5 million. Because crucially, the word of mouth had got around about it. A lot of people liked it. So I never thought I'd say I was grateful for a strike in my life. And this was just that one occasion.
And I, for one, am glad, because it doesn't matter when you watch it, whether you're watching it like me in the 80s, like some of the kids that I know who started watching it in the 90s, or my little girl who'd probably watch it on Gold with me, and I'll go, do you know what, Mummy sat on stage with him right there, and she'll go, really? Because she gets very excited, even though she's only 18 months. I'm sure that all of you guys have got loads of questions, so I'm going to throw it out to the audience. Would anybody like to ask the fabulous John a question?
I have no idea what to ask.
Oh, come on. We've got a lovely gentleman at the back who's waving his hand, and then we've got a lady over here as well. Don't be shy. We'll bring the microphone to you. Have we got a microphone, boys? James is on the case. You can shout
Here comes
if
the
you want.
microphone. I'm not telling you. Hey, hi guys. Yeah, well, actually, the Green Grass, the spin-off series, it got a new name. Herman. And it's, John Sullivan was convinced that Boycie was a Nazi towards the end. I don't know if that says anything about my performance or about me personally. I think he had it in for me, really, you know. But it was Herman Terence Aubrey Boyce. Yeah, that's it. That's his full name. I can't spell it.
We will put a disclaimer on the Comic-Con Liverpool site if you would like. That's a beautiful name.
Herman Boyce, yes, I can see him marching up and down with his hand in the air. It's like, no, perhaps not. Where would Marlene be, do you think? Would she be proud of that, do you think? Wearing a nice hat with the Nazi insignia on it. I can see it now.
This is in no way reflective of anybody's political beliefs. I just wanted to get that out there. Now, Liverpool, this is all for comedy value. James, where have you gone? Oh, he's over there. There's a question. I'm so sorry, John. There's a question with this lady over here.
He keeps sitting down, doesn't he?
Oh, right, sorry. Out there, you can see me better now.
Where are you?
I'm here, at the side of you.
Oh, hello.
Sorry about that, I didn't know it was still on. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, one of my favourite episodes is Chain Gang.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What are your memories about that episode?
Well, you know, it's a terrific episode, great story. I just remember me and David sort of sitting there while all this drama was unfolding, and Phil McGough, who played the villain of the piece, kept having pretend heart attacks and making off with out, doesn't he? And the great twist at the end where Phil McGough wakes up and we're all sitting in the ambulance going, hello. I thought it was a brilliant story, you know, it's just great fun. very different, sort of almost a thriller, wasn't it? I mean, well, you know, a sort of Agatha Christie thriller sort of thing about it. So we all enjoyed doing that very much. So it was a great show. Is that one of your favourites, huh? Good, thank you.
Any more questions? Oh, we've got a Superman at the back.
A question from Superman. I mean, that doesn't happen every day, I tell you.
I just want to know, is it possible, I've got two questions, is it possible to walk down the street without someone shouting, Marlene? And secondly, do you meet up with your co-stars and is it hard to not be in character when you meet them?
Well, the answer to the first question is sometimes I don't get a Marlene at all, but I get other things. Like sometimes I think there's a flock of sheep following me. It's usually a bunch of lads going. You know, which is quite alarming, really. Particularly as I live in the country. Anyway, no, pretty well every day something's going to happen. I do get a lot of Marlenes too. It's actually quite funny because very often it's a bunch of lads, and I can sort of clock it, and as I approach, I can see them all going. Anyway, they're straight faced, and they walk past, and just after they've gone past, I just hear this Marlene, and I turn around, I look at them, and they all go like a bunch of schoolgirls. It's very funny. But no, something happens every day. When we all meet up, it's sort of I don't know why it's happened, but it's a sort of an unwritten rule that you don't do your character. You know, everybody expects you to talk like the characters, all of us, you know. And I remember when dear Roger Lloyd Pack, God rest his soul, was always used to come to the conventions and so on. And he spent a lot of time trying to avoid being Trigger. Although there he was dressed as Trigger, signing photographs of himself as Trigger, he sort of suffered it, I suppose. And if somebody called him Trigger, he'd sort of bristle about it, you know. So the unwritten law really was that you don't do your character to the other characters in the show, you know. So far, so good.
Has that ruined your kind of fantasy of them all in the pub doing impressions of each other? Sorry.
I've ruined Superman's fantasy.
It's not every day you can say
No,
that.
that's right. No, sorry.
Do you know what, John? I could keep you on stage all day, but I'm really sorry we're going to have to end it there.
You mean you got somebody more important to talk to?
No, not more important
Well, it's
than
not
you.
very nice, is it?
Not more important than you, but we've just got some more people coming up.
I think I've been rejected. I think I've been thrown.
Oh my gosh, I could keep you on stage all day. We haven't even got to talk about the green
you say
grass.
that, you say that, but why don't you then?
I'll get you back on tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we didn't talk about the green grass, we didn't talk about Benidorm, we didn't talk about other things, but he is absolutely fabulous. I have never tried in a panel before, and I just did it. John Challis, everyone.
Thank you very much.
You can do